Welcome to today's Deep Dive. I'm really glad you're joining us for this one. Our mission for this session is to explore a really fascinating excerpt we've been looking at. It's titled, "The Three Silent Killers of IoT Platforms."
Yeah, it's a great piece.
It really is. And, whether you are deep in the trenches of enterprise tech right now, or maybe you're just prepping for a broad product strategy meeting, or honestly, even if you're just interested in the mechanics of why highly promising businesses just inexplicably stall out, this deep dive is a shortcut for you.
Absolutely. A huge shortcut.
We're basically going to unpack this major tech mystery. Why do Internet of Things platforms, these ventures that have incredible underlying technology, brilliant engineers, they even have early customers, why do they just quietly disappear?
Right, because it really defies our usual expectations of how a startup fails. I mean, we're talking about companies that seem to have every single ingredient for massive scale. The talent is there, the code is solid, the initial market validation is there.
You just got the funding.
Exactly, they have the funding. But what I find so fascinating about the source material here is how it frames the failure. The collapse in this space is almost never a sudden explosion. It's not this catastrophic, headline-grabbing bankruptcy.
No dramatic boardroom coup.
No, not at all. It is a slow, quiet creep. The problems are not obvious at the beginning. In fact, they are practically invisible to the people inside the building.
That is the exact paradox we need to dissect today. It's this silent, almost imperceptible slide. And I want to speak directly to you, the listener, for a second. As we go through these sources, frame this not just as a tech history lesson. Think of this as a masterclass in recognizing hidden business traps.
Because they really are universal traps.
Completely. If you are trying to scale a project, launch a product, anything, this applies to you. So let's get into it. Okay, let's unpack this. The source calls the first killer the nice platform problem.
The nice platform problem, yeah.
And it sets up this scenario that looks like absolute perfection. You can just visualize it. The platform is deployed. It works flawlessly. The dashboards are beautiful, right? They're sleek. The data is flowing in from the sensor.
Everything looks great on the screen.
Everything is great. And the customers are looking at it and saying, oh, this is very interesting. On the surface, that is a massive win.
It looks like a win. But according to the text, that exact phrase, when a customer says your product is very interesting, that is when you should be terrified. Terrified, because the source is pointing out this fatal gap between being a nice-to-have tool and a must-have system. The platform works, yes, but it is not critical to the customer's actual survival.
It's just cool.
Exactly. And the author argues why that's so dangerous in the real world. Enterprise business is cyclical. Budgets tighten. And when a massive corporation has to look at its operating expenses...
When the CFO gets involved, they decide what stays and what goes. And what gets cut first? The nice platform. It is the easiest, least painful line item to cross out. Companies in the IoT space mistakenly pour all their capital into surface-level features. Yeah, the text specifically calls out a hyper-focus on dashboards. Basic connectivity, visualization.
Right, they sell the bells and whistles. They assume data visibility itself is the product.
But it's not. And that's the crucial pivot the source makes. It explicitly states that customers don't actually pay for dashboards. They pay for outcomes.
Pure outcomes.
The dashboard is just a delivery mechanism. And the source gives us this really hard-hitting list of specific outcomes that customers will always fund, even in a recession.
Because they have to.
We're talking about reducing downtime, preventing workplace accidents, lowering massive energy costs, avoiding regulatory penalties, increasing productivity. Those are not nice to have.
No, those are survival metrics.
Exactly. If your platform isn't directly tied to one of those specific financial or operational outcomes, the text warns that you are just an optional luxury.
And optional is the kiss of death in enterprise software. To ground this, the source provides some really vivid examples of what a true must-have system looks like. It mentions predictive maintenance for heavy factory equipment.
Oh, that's a great example.
Think about the stakes there. If a manufacturing floor shuts down because a multi-million-dollar machine breaks unexpectedly, that is a massive, immediate financial hemorrhage.
Every minute is thousands of dollars.
Exactly. If your IoT platform is the invisible layer analyzing vibration data to predict that failure before it happens, you're not a dashboard anymore. You are the active protector of their revenue stream.
You're their insurance policy.
The text also lists fleet safety monitoring, complex energy optimization for buildings, and cold chain compliance for pharmaceuticals.
Let's hover on that cold chain compliance example for a second, because I think it perfectly illustrates the technological leap required here. Moving beyond just interesting tech in cold chain isn't just sticking a digital thermometer in a truck.
Right, it's way more complex than that.
The source points to the massive complexity of real-time data ingestion constraints. You're dealing with sensor integration across highly fragmented legacy hardware. You have to maintain continuous connectivity across dead zones.
It's an architectural nightmare to get right.
Because if a shipment of highly sensitive pharmaceuticals deviates from its required temperature by even a fraction of a degree, millions of dollars of life-saving supplies are ruined instantly.
Instantly.
If your platform solves those deep architectural challenges to guarantee monitoring at scale, you are not a nice-to-have visualizer. You are the difference between success and catastrophic regulatory failure.
Precisely. And that leads to the key takeaway from this first silent killer. The text states that these types of outcome-driven systems, the predictive maintenance, the rigorous cold chain monitors, they cannot simply be switched off.
Right.
It's unthinkable for the operations team to let the CFO turn them off. That is the fundamental difference. The chasm between interesting technology and essential infrastructure. Interesting tech gets uninstalled when the economy dips. Essential infrastructure receives more investment.
Because the business literally cannot function without it. Okay, so that distinction changes how you evaluate a product roadmap. But let's smoothly transition here. Let's say a founder realizes this. They realize they need to be a must-have. Their immediate reflex might be to just build whatever the customer asks for, right, to prove that value.
It's a very natural reflex.
But according to the source, that reflex leads directly into the second trap. Here's where it gets really interesting. Killer number 2 is called the customization trap. And the text notes, this is the specific killer that quietly destroys startups.
It's so insidious because it starts innocently. Early customers ask for seemingly harmless special features.
Right, the source lists them. Can you modify this dashboard slightly for our team? Can you add this custom workflow just for our internal process? Can you integrate with this ancient legacy system we have?
It sounds totally reasonable. If you read standard startup advice, it sounds exactly like customer success. You're iterating, you're listening to early adopters.
Right.
But the trap is the underlying motivation and the long-term architectural debt. The text points out the psychological pressure here. The company desperately needs early revenue. There's immense pressure from investors to close enterprise deals.
You got to show traction.
You have to show traction. So the engineering team compromises. They agree to the requests. They make the bespoke modification. They build the one-off workflow. And over time, something profoundly dangerous happens. The platform fractures.
It fractures.
It morphs from a single, scalable, unified product into a disjointed collection of customer-specific solutions. You don't have one platform anymore. As the source describes it, you are now maintaining a specific version for customer A, a completely different version for customer B, and a totally unique branch for customer C.
But wait, I have to push back on this based on common industry logic. Every startup advisor says do things that don't scale in the early days. Isn't saying yes to these specific requests exactly how a young company secures its first massive enterprise whales?
That is the exact friction point the text addresses. Yes, that early MRR feels like survival. But the source makes a crucial distinction between building a general software tool and building an underlying platform.
Okay, what's the difference in this context?
The illusion of what the company has become is what makes this a killer. By saying yes to all these custom requests to secure those whales, the company has secretly become a consulting company disguised as a platform company.
Oh, wow. A consulting company in disguise.
Exactly. They pitch themselves to venture capitalists as a highly scalable software platform, but internally, they're actually just executing bespoke, one-off project work for individual clients.
And the fallout from that is a cascading disaster. The source outlines it so clearly. It is an operational nightmare.
It truly is. The text details how this plays out internally. Engineering time, which is an IoT startup's most scarce and valuable resource, shifts entirely away from broad, scalable product development.
Because they're stuck fixing bugs for one specific client.
Yes. It gets consumed by project support, maintenance, and legacy integrations for these siloed clients. Because you are essentially doing custom agency work, your profit margins shrink drastically.
Right.
Your development of core platform features slows to an absolute crawl. And most importantly, the core premise of a platform, which is scaling infinitely with marginal costs, becomes completely impossible. You cannot scale a bespoke consulting service the way you can scale a unified software platform.
The text literally clearly states that many IoT companies died exactly this way.
So many.
They had a true platform architecture at the beginning, but these custom projects acted like a parasite, consuming the roadmap until nothing original was left. It's the irony of a cutting-edge tech company accidentally turning itself into an exhausted, low-margin IT consulting firm.
It happens all the time.
So what is the defense mechanism? How do the successful platforms from the source survive this trap when the pressure to close deals is so high?
Discipline. The text highlights the absolute unyielding discipline of the strongest platforms. They defend their product roadmap fiercely. They constantly force themselves to answer one crucial question whenever a client request comes in.
Is this a product feature or a one-off project?
That is the ultimate filter. If the requested feature isn't inherently reusable across a wide majority of your current and future customers, it should not be built. Period.
But executing that rule requires immense courage.
It does. It means looking a massive paying enterprise customer in the eye and saying no, fully knowing you might lose that lucrative early revenue.
You have to be willing to walk away.
You have to walk away to protect the long-term scalability of the platform. It's about realizing that not all revenue is equal. Customization revenue artificially inflates your metrics today, but the technical debt it creates will extinguish your future potential to scale.
That is a phenomenal strategic lens, the discipline to reject bad revenue. All right, let's look at the third and final killer the source identifies. It's called the ecosystem illusion.
This is a big one.
It really is. And this section starts by targeting a very pervasive, almost romantic fallacy among technical founders. The text says that founders deeply believe if we build the platform, developers will come.
The field of dreams mentality.
Exactly. The engineers believe that because they built elegant architecture, because they built the APIs and the SDKs, which let third-party developers plug into the architecture, they assume an entire community is going to organically flock to them and build amazing solutions.
What's fascinating here is how the source immediately punctures that psychological blind spot. It states plainly that this organic migration rarely happens.
Almost never.
Developers do not just show up because you have beautiful code. Developers are highly rational, resource-constrained actors. They evaluate platforms based on 3 specific criteria: the sheer size of the existing ecosystem, the availability of robust tools and documentation, and vastly more important than the first 2, the clear economic opportunity.
The money.
The money. If third-party developers cannot easily see a path to making money on your platform, they will move their resources elsewhere. They need a concrete return on their investment of time.
It's the classic marketplace cold start problem. You can build the most elegant developer sandbox in the industry, but if those developers can't monetize their apps, that sandbox remains a ghost town.
Exactly right.
And the source uses some massive, highly successful ecosystems to prove this point. It references giants like AWS, Shopify, Salesforce, and the Apple App Store. The text explains that these behemoths grew insanely fast, not just because their code was revolutionary, but because developers could actually build real, highly profitable businesses on top of them.
Entire multi-million-dollar companies exist today solely to build Shopify plugins.
Or Salesforce integrations.
Exactly. And the success of those giants highlights the massive missing layer in the failing IoT platforms. The text explains that founders underestimate this completely. Because they are engineering-led, they provide the technical foundation, the APIs, and assume the job is done.
Right. They check the box. We have APIs.
But they completely forget to build what the author calls the economic incentive layer. Technical tools are a prerequisite, but they are not the engine.
So what is the engine?
For a real ecosystem to take root, partners and independent developers must clearly see 3 things up front: exactly how they earn revenue, how frictionless it is to build solutions, and how large the potential addressable market is. Without that brutally clear line of sight to profitability, the ecosystem remains small and stagnant.
So what does this all mean when we pull the camera back? We've looked at all 3 silent killers. The nice platform problem, where you remain an optional luxury, the customization trap, where you become a bespoke consultancy, and the ecosystem illusion, where you fail to provide an economic incentive. The most insidious part of all of this, according to the source's conclusion, is that none of these problems look dramatic at first.
They don't look like problems at all.
They are completely masked by the day-to-day operations.
That is the truly terrifying part of this analysis for any leader. The text makes it explicitly clear that while these three killers are actively hollowing out the core of the business, the company still genuinely feels like it's succeeding.
Metrics look good.
The metrics look great. They are signing new, heavily customized projects. They are gaining industry recognition. The engineering team is busy releasing new one-off features. They're getting positive feedback from users who love their bespoke dashboards.
All the traditional outward metrics of a healthy startup are flashing green.
Flashing bright green.
But beneath the surface of those green metrics, the source reveals the ultimate consequence. Because of these silent killers, the underlying growth rate quietly slows down. True scalable profitability becomes impossible because the margins are destroyed by custom work and a lack of ecosystem leverage.
And the platform never reaches what the author calls escape velocity.
Escape velocity. They miss the critical window to dominate the market. And the fate described in the text isn't a fiery bankruptcy. It's much more mundane. It is that these platforms remain small, respectable companies, but they never become the dominant global platforms they set out to be.
They just kind of plateau into mediocrity.
Right.
And this raises a deeply important question about how we measure success and failure. The tragedy outlined in the text isn't sudden death. It's the tragedy of unfulfilled potential. Operating a small, respectable company is fine for many, but it is a massive strategic failure if the initial goal, the venture capital, and the architecture were expressly designed to become a dominant global platform. The silent killers slowly stole their trajectory, degree by degree, while everyone inside was busy patting themselves on the back for delivering a highly customized dashboard.
It is a profoundly sobering thought. It really forces you to reevaluate what traction actually means. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final provocative thought to mull over.
Yeah, this is important.
Take a hard look at your own projects, the systems you are currently building, or even the third-party tools your team relies on every single day to run your business. The source explicitly notes that these failing companies still receive glowing, positive feedback right up until the moment their growth permanently stalls.
Right up until the end.
So this raises a critical question for you to explore on your own. Are your current, everyday markers of success, like making a demanding custom client happy or launching a sleek new dashboard feature that people say is very interesting, are those actually the very things masking a silent killer?
Are they anchoring you?
Exactly. Are those short-term wins actively preventing you from reaching true escape velocity? Are your daily wins actually your long-term anchors? It's a lot to think about. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden traps of IoT platforms. We hope this exploration of the sources has given you a sharp new lens through which to view your own strategic decisions.
It's definitely changed how I look at early traction.
Absolutely. Keep questioning the information and the metrics around you. Keep looking past the surface-level dashboards to the actual undeniable outcomes. And we will catch you on the next deep dive.